Hello, and welcome to module number 2, Thinking Like a Litigator. Welcome to module number 2. In module number 1, we built the foundation. Course decide on records, and the core move is to start building yours early. Now we go one level deeper into the mindset that makes all of this automatic. And I want to frame something right away because most people get thinking like a litigator completely wrong. It's not about being combative, suspicious, or lawyered up. It's a quiet posture of preservation. In this model, we'll look at why a record made the same day beats one rebuilt months later, why the window closes so fast, and how to handle the one thing that quietly destroys good records: raw emotion leaking into your facts. And by the end, I'll give you a single question you can ask yourself in any tense moment that instantly changes what you do next. Now let's go. It isn't combativeness, it's calm. Let's clear up the biggest misunderstanding right away. When people hear think like a litigator, they picture someone combative, suspicious, building a secret case against their coworkers, recording every conversation. That is the opposite of what I mean, and honestly, it backfires. A good litigator is calm, and the reason is subtle and important. They're calm precisely because the record is being kept. Think about it, how much energy most of us burn trying to win an argument in the moment, to make sure we're heard the right way, to get the last word. When you know today's events are already captured accurately and safely, you can let that go. You don't need to win in a hallway. You don't need to escalate every slight. You can stay professional, even gracious, because the record is doing the remembering for you. Calm isn't weakness here. It's just what being prepared feels like. So if it isn't drama, what does preservation actually look like day to day? Almost boring. And that's the point. It looks like a short factual email sent the same afternoon to confirm our conversation today. You asked X, I said Y. It looks like a dated note dropped into one consistent folder you set up in advance so you can automatically find it 6 months from now. It looks like keeping the original message instead of deleting the thread when you're annoyed. None of these take more than 2 minutes. None of them feels dramatic in the moment, which is exactly why people skip them. They don't feel urgent, but each one is quietly decisive later, because each one converts a vanishing moment into a dated, recoverable fact. The posture is calm and consistent. The payoff is delayed, but it's real. Here's a principle why contemporaneous wins. Here's a principle that quietly runs through how records get weighed. The word is contemporaneous, made at or near the time of the event. A contemporaneous record is generally treated as more reliable than one built months later, and the reason is deeply human. A note written the same day hasn't had the time to be reshaped by hindsight, by knowing how the story turned out, or by the motive you developed once things went bad. That same person, honestly trying to recall a meeting a year later, will unconsciously smooth it, sharpen it, reorder it to fit what they believe now. That's not lying, that's just memory. So notice what it means. Reliability is partly a function of timing, not only honestly. Two people can be equally sincere, and the one who wrote it down that afternoon still holds the stronger record. This is the engine behind everything we teach about acting early. Now the window closes, and this is the sharp edge of the idea, so let it land. You cannot go back and create a contemporaneous record if the meeting happened today and you didn't capture it. Then tomorrow, all you can write is a reconstruction, useful but weaker, and everybody in the room knows it. The window for the strongest kind of record closes the moment the day ends. That's uncomfortable, but it's also clarifying because it answers the most common objective people have. This doesn't feel serious enough to write down yet. Here's the trap in that. By the time it feels serious enough, the early, calm, contemporaneous record, the ones that would have shown the whole sequence from the very beginning, are already impossible to make. So the move is to document while it still feels minor. If nothing comes of it, you spent 2 minutes. If something does, you're holding the one thing you can never manufacture after the fact, a record made in real time. Emotion belongs in a labeled box. Now, litigators are not unfeeling people. They simply keep emotion out of the evidence. And I want to be really clear here. because people sometimes hear this as suppress your feelings. That's not it at all. Your anger, your fear, your sense of injustice, they're valid and they're worth recording because how a situation affected you can generally matter. The discipline is about where those feelings go. They belong clearly labeled box marked opinion or my experience, kept separate from the factual account. The failure mode is smuggling emotion into the facts, writing my supervisor humiliated me on purpose, as if it was an observed event. The second you do that, you've invited a whole fight about the intent and tone, and handed the other side an easy way to dismiss the whole things as emotional. So keep the two boxes separate. Here's what happened, and separately, here's how I experienced it. Both get recorded. Neither one contaminates the other. Let me show you exactly what it looks like. Okay, so here we have the same event written two different ways. Here's the whole module in one comparison. Same event, same person, same underlying truth, written two ways. On the left, the fragile version. My supervisor deliberately humiliated me to force me out, like he's done to everyone who crosses him. Now read that like an opponent would. It assumes motive you can't prove, deliberately to force me out. It speculates about a pattern, everyone who crosses him, and it reads a raw anger. Every one of those is a handle someone can grab to dismiss. Now the durable version. First, the fact. In the 10 a.m. meeting in front of four coworkers, my supervisor said my work is a joke. Specific, dated witness, checkable, then clearly labeled and kept separate. The opinion I experienced this as humiliating. Notice, nothing is hidden. The feeling is still on the record. It just can't be mistaken for a claim about his intent. The durable version is harder to attack and weirdly more persuasive because a reader can trust your facts without having to agree with your conclusion. Train yourself to write, train yourself that right hand the column by reflex. Train yourself to write that right hand column by reflex. Substitution. We met the idea in module one, and I'm bringing it back on purpose because this is the rep you'll do most often. Every single time you catch yourself thinking, I should say something about that, add four words and write it down. Here's why it has to be a deliberate habit. Speaking and preserving feel like the same act, but they aren't. You can have a perfectly clear conversation, feel completely heard in the moment, and walk away with exactly zero record that it ever happened. The litigator's instinct closes the gap automatically. Say it, then preserve it in that order. And over time, it stops becoming a conscious step. You'll send the confirming email without even thinking about it. The way you lock a door on your way out. That one reflex, repeated over months, is what quietly builds the file a case would need long before there's any case. Let the record do the remember. Now it's easy to hear all of this as extra work. One more chore piled up onto an already hard situation. So let's flip it and look at what the posture actually gives you back to you because the return is mostly emotional and is real. First, you get to skip the hallway fight. When the record is kept, you no longer have to win every argument in the moment. You can let a bad exchange go because you already documented it. Second, you stop leaning on memory. You're not a person. You're not the person a year from now straining to recall exactly what was said under stress. Your afternoon self already wrote it down while it was clear. And third, maybe the most valuable, you get to stay professional. You can be calm, even gracious, with someone who's treating you badly because your composure isn't a gamble anymore. You're already covered. The record remembers, so you don't have to carry it around your chest. That's not just tactically smart, it's a better way to live through a hard stretch at work. Part two in the sentence. Here's the part distilled into a single sentence you can carry out the door. Stop asking, how do I get them to listen? And start asking, how do I make it provable? Sit with why the swap matters. The first question pours all your energy into those moments and into other people's reaction, neither of which you can control. It leaves you frustrated when they don't hear you and empty handed later. The second question points at the one thing you fully control, and that's the record. Here's the quiet magic. The second question tends to answer the first one for free. When you focus on making things provable, you naturally write clear, deliver writing, invite correction, and keep proof. And that's discipline. On the record behavior is exactly what makes people start taking you seriously. You stop chasing being heard, and your being heard starts to follow. The single reframe is the entire mindset of a litigator translated into ordinary life. Now let's tie a bow on module number 2. You have the mindset that makes the whole system run. Preservation is calm posture, not a panic reaction. Contemporaneous records win because timing shapes reliability, not just honesty. And that window closes fast, so you act early. And you keep fact and feeling in a separate label box, so both survive without contaminating each other. That's the litigator's head, but a mindset needs machinery. So in Module 3, we open up a courtroom itself and walk through its paperwork, the motions, the declarations, the exhibits, service, the record that closes on appeal. Not to turn you into a lawyer, but so you can understand what each piece is actually for. Because once you see why the courts build records the way they do, the workplace version in this Module 4 becomes obvious. Next up is Module 3, why courts build records. And thanks everybody for following along today. If today's lesson helped you, don't let it stop here. I've created a free companion guide that walks you through the exact framework we covered today, along with practical checklists, worksheets, and strategy tools you can start using immediately. Simply visit worldwars101.org and download your free Taking Court to Streets starter guide. My goal isn't just to explain what happened in a case, it's to teach you how to think strategically before you ever step into a courtroom. If you found value in today's lesson, subscribe and join me each week as we turn real litigation into practical education. I'm Rodney Rizan, and this is Taking Court to the Streets. I'll see you in the next lesson.
Words in papers, words in books, words on TV, words for books, words of comfort, words of ease, words to make the fighting cease. Eat your words, but don't go hungry. Words have always nearly hung me. Words are stupid, words are fun. Words can put you on the run. Concrete words, abstract words, words to tell you what to do. Words can put you on the run.